We're getting there.
That was your idea right there.
I love technology. Love it when it works. But despise it when it doesn't.
It is? Okay, so it's gone through there, which means back over to, where's the, there we go. Okay.
See, it's connecting, right?
Phone is connecting to audio, turning down. Here's our problem. Okay. Court, can you hear us?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yay.
Okay. You're live, you're recording,
Are we good to go?
we're good to go.
All right, everybody. Thank you for being here tonight for the work session. I think there are some details that are somewhat urgent. We can't be dragging our feet. We've got to talk about what we plan to do with these grants. First, that's a priority. We've got to have these discussions and see what we need for answers and where we are. We talked about them a little bit earlier, but we've got to go and revisit them. We can't be kicking that can down the road indefinitely. So Debbie has been very good to us and put together some tabs. The very first tab has got grant information related to the amphitheater. And she has got the first resolution on there that we voted on back in, that was a while ago, 2 years ago. Okay, and then she's got a financial sheet. And then she has also a number of forms from Tysinger. No, this is McGill, right? Yeah, this is McGill. Drawings the engineers put together for the amphitheater. And of all of us in the room, maybe Roger, Wanda, I'm going to tell you, I'm not as familiar with some of the detail, but apparently there was history when the first drawings were returned from McGill and Associates. They did not represent what former Mayor Lynch had been envisioning for the amphitheater. And when Mayor Lynch sent back and said, wait, we've come up way short of what I was envisioning, what I was wanting, McGill and Associates apparently took it back and reworked it. And the quote for the expense jumped way up. So I think what we have in our packet is we have a basic, but then we have an added roof. He wanted former Mayor Lynch wanted a floor you could recess somebody down into to lower. And there was a lot of detail associated with it that was not included in the first financial liability drawing, I guess, if we were to go through with it. So I think we're going to have to look at it in terms of backing down. Does that make sense? Backing down, we need to decide if we are going to pursue this grant. And one of the reasons we are looking at this one first is it has a lifespan 8/30/2021, and we're already almost in the 4th month. We got 4 months, unless we get some kind of an extension.
And
That's it, we're done. Okay, so this grant expiring means do we have to have all the drawdowns by then, or the project has to be completed?
The project has to be complete. The construction has to be completed by the end of August.
So that means voting, bidding, getting bids, contracting, building. 4 months.
Yes.
And that's on, it's on us. The administration changed, obviously, and so focus had to step back and take a new focus. Is that even possible in 4 months?
I think it's possible, but I mean, you probably have to put this out to bid 1st of June at the latest. And by the time you get through the plan approval process, the advertising, bid opening, I mean, this thing's gonna have to get moving probably in April as far as finalizing the design and getting it sent to TDEC for approval.
Okay, and if we go with the original, I feel like there's a lot of stuff. You put those drawings in here, didn't you? Even with the roof, you added the ones with the roof. Yeah. If we go back with the more simple, I don't know, it's like that. If we go with the more simple design, sorry, I'm fighting with my answer. The more simple design marries up to this page, is that right, Debbie, of these expenses right here? It marries up here.
The original, the value of the land was 248,000.
Yes.
And that's what the resolution was written for, and I think the original design was 248,000. And that was, and I can't remember, Lance, did that have a roof or no?
No, it did not.
Okay, no roof,
And
and
concrete
it was
floor.
flat, concrete,
A flat concrete stage.
Right.
With stacked stone accents on the ceiling.
right,
And we tried to make the project scope as broad as possible to give you all some flexibility down the road. Because the grant holds you to the bare minimum of what is in that project scope in the application. So, you know, by chance you wanted to add anything to the project, that would be fine, but you cannot take anything away. So that's why when this, in addition to the cost, trying to get something designed that would only be $248,000, let's not put too much in there to give you all more flexibility with the end product.
Okay, and should we choose to move forward with that project, the design would allow us to adapt it to make other amenities or add other
Yeah.
features or?
Yes, you could add stuff to the amphitheater, you just have to keep what was in the application.
Okay, I mean, but it adapts itself to having a roof added or
Right.
some of those sorts of
I
things.
think we had dimensions for the stage and then that stacked stone seating were really the two items that were called out in the application.
Okay. Now, y'all may have opinions, but I'm gonna share what the notes I made about it. Is that all right? My concerns, parking.
How many seating do you have on this one's 240 people? Is that the capacity on it?
250, I think I saw.
286 is one of them.
Oh,
One
okay.
of them, the page I'm looking at says that with the concrete amphitheater seating is 240 part.
I seen 286 plus 3 handicap seats somewhere.
I thought I saw a 250, so we're kind of in the range. And I highlighted it, things get to my page. But anyway, so I was a little concerned about parking, even at 250, if two people came in a vehicle, that's 125 vehicles. Plus anybody that might be performing vehicles, which could be 20 to 30 people, depending on
And set up the
drama. Yeah, I mean, parking is a concern for me. I don't know that the design or what was even put in the first.
Well, I think one of the
Request
other things we're gonna have
accommodated.
trouble with is, so if it's sitting over there, let's just say it's finished and it's sitting there and it's to spec.
250.
Who's gonna book all this stuff? And who's gonna maintain the property? And who's gonna clean up? And who's gonna get it ready? And how much are we gonna spend monthly?
In the grant request, it's included in here. Performing people, they did not have to pay to use the amphitheater.
But you get
I mean,
what
they have to book it, but we're gonna have to pay somebody to clean up afterwards.
and maintain it. And if something
Yeah.
tears up and
Trash facilities, clean up, have to make sure the bathrooms are clean. I mean, there are
marketing,
things. Well, we don't need to market it. If somebody else is having a show, they can market it. Sorry, that's on them.
When you were making the grant up, did you have like the seating in mind as far as the surrounding where the parking would be? Wasn't any of yours was just strictly doing the amphitheater?
Right, parking was not part of the project design.
Yeah.
The grant mandates that you have at least one ADA accessible parking space at the time of project completion, but that doesn't have to be included in the project.
But that was your suggestion that we would have 188
No,
not
ADA.
ADA.
The grant requires that the facility be fully ADA accessible.
Compliant, yeah. Page 46 of 26 on the application summary has got, in the second paragraph under documentation required, it says a seating capacity of approximately 250 persons. That's where I got my number
What
from.
number?
Page 4 of 26.
Is there any requirement for number of restrooms? Okay. Making sure.
That would be based on local code, whatever.
Past the drawings.
Okay.
Want to keep going past the drawings. The numbers are down on the bottom right. No, come back, keep coming, you're good. Keep coming,
Yeah,
keep
the
coming,
code does require that.
keep coming, keep coming.
One of the things I noticed that we don't have 248 to work, but we've got $210,000.
Okay, down at the bottom right-hand corner, you see one of 26 or something, on the bottom, page number.
Wonder how much?
26?
Yeah.
Okay, go to 4. Go to page 4.
Are these figures the original design or the most recent design?
The figures on that balance sheet that Debbie gave us is the original design. I just asked that a minute ago, is that correct? I mean, I'm saying it again to validate.
Because this is what they brought the last time they came.
Yeah, that's what was in the application, was the total project was 496,000. Half of that is the value of the land.
Like I said, right now, we've only got $210,000 built with.
After engineering. Yeah.
Right. The actual
And fees.
Right here in this drawing right here. In that real fine print, it says 286 seating.
Okay, well, in the grant summary, it says
It's right here.
This
on one of
one
these
said
lines.
approximately 250, so
Yeah.
that's in the ballpark figure.
Plus the 3 for.
And that's it. And then in the summary, I know this came from the town. This is not anything that you were responsible for wording. The site where the uniform amphitheater is to be built is located on an existing paved street with abundant parking. I don't think we have abundant parking. I'm afraid. I mean, how many people did you have at the movies?
Well, at the movies, we had, anywhere from 30 to 60, I think was our highest.
Cars,
For the-
vehicles.
Vehicles, not people,
Yeah.
vehicles. We had, according to Andy, more than 100 vehicles at the Christmas event. Now, I know that when they were doing this, now, that was before my time, but after the fact, they had told me it was counting both Mountain Harvest Kitchen and the tourist information parking lot, but I know.
Y'all maxed that, we maxed that out
We
at
did.
Christmas.
Yeah. With, and there was.
100 vehicles.
100 vehicles.
But we also use private land for people to park
Right,
on.
we spilled over on the private land.
Well, and keep in mind, those 100 vehicles weren't all there at the same time. So they kind of
Yeah.
staggered out. So,
And we still were spilling over.
yes, and we were still spilling over.
Gosh, I mean, I hate that got missed in this because I think that's huge. Where are we gonna put those vehicles? Dollar General?
No, I will say this, both the funeral home and the Church National Forest have been very good to us as far as allowing us for overflow parking and shuttle stuff if we need to, but I'm not sure that that's something you want to, if you're only looking for once or
Who
twice a
shuttle? Who
year.
will shuttle?
Well, exactly, that would be.
Have they ever shuttled before?
Not to my knowledge, except for maybe some small event with a hayride. But I will say this, if you, 1 or 2 events a year that they help us out with is different necessarily than however many events we may have here. And I don't know exactly, are you wanting people to rent it and use it themselves?
No, but if there was an event there, let's just say the drama club at the high school wanted to come put on a presentation. All of those kids, all of their vehicles, and then 250 more people, that's 100 more vehicles. I mean, we're probably talking 150
And they
vehicles
would have-
easy at one time.
Yes, and they would have to do their own agreement with those other 2 parking lots. They would have to come up with their own way to do shuttles. That's not something we would do for them.
But that's a negative.
But if they're coming up to the amphitheater and they drive into the visitor center, they're just gonna pull in somewhere and park. Unless we tell them they can't park there, and then that's gonna be a really bad experience that's gonna come back on us. I'm really concerned about the parking. I am really concerned about the parking.
The kitchen doesn't even have paid parking. It's a mud hole in the back right now. Just saying.
I wish there's nothing we can do about that, is there? There's nothing we can do at this point about the parking situation in association with this grant.
Right, now within the confines of the grant. So would have to be addressed separately.
Well, we're not here to make any decisions tonight anyway.
One
so we're
other
gonna-
thing that, if you look on one of the sheets, it talks about 10% overrun. It talks about that, out of pocket, town would have at least 41,000 out of the pocket, plus if everything going up, how much everything going up, 15%, 20? Yeah. Anybody know?
About 20 for my,
So you're looking at a tremendous sum of money. Yeah, what the 210 we're gonna be getting from the grant.
I don't know if one of you men were here last time we heard about this, but the last person told us we were already $50,000 to $60,000 out of budget. Plus, I don't know if that was one of y'all or somebody else that was sent, but we're not budgeted for that. And then if the building materials have went up, and the one thing, I don't remember if it's this grant or the other one, these grants can be stopped right in the middle of it, and we've got what's left. They're called off, so,
That's called off.
well,
You mean if we call off pursuing the project?
no, I've got it, I think it's the other one.
We're still gonna be liable for all
We're-
the engineering fees regardless.
I'm
Are
talking
we
about
not?
finishing the project. I've got to find it.
You guys be honest with me. Is this the only time this sort of thing happens, when leadership changes in a municipality where somebody has begun a grant project, but then a new administration comes in? I mean, is this really unusual? Is this unique?
It kind of is unique. I mean, I'm trying to
Beauty,
think
page 5.
projects in the past, and
Page 5.
we've had projects, on a rare occasion, we've had projects where the bids came in real high, and the project was stopped because of that. I don't know, I can't think of a comparable example. of what you're
Really?
dealing with.
Okay, on page 5, it talks about termination for clause if the grantee failed to perform its obligation
That's what
under
I was
this
talking
grant contract.
What page are you on?
Page 5,
Okay,
The second bit said of page 5.
go.
where it talks about the grantee
Termination.
violates any terms of this grant contract to sales, or the state shall have the right to immediately terminate this grant contract and without payment in excess of,
Gives 30 days.
their conversation.
So that really scares me to death. Cause that could say we could be half done and the state decide, hey, we're going to quit on you right here because of some blanket rule, and we gotta finish the project. I mean, right here, I've got
Yeah,
stars, and-
that's standard white language in
But
the
that's
state
scary.
contract.
but that's scary right now, what's going on.
I mean, that's our job, is to make sure you follow the rules and don't get sideways. I don't think that's a big risk that you're talking about.
But I don't see how, I build a bunch of stuff. I'm not a contractor, but with the process that this town has to go through with to get the name of a contractor and then him get us in line, because he's done got other people lined up too. I don't know how on earth we could get it built by August. I mean, you gotta move dirt,
Well, and you can't, I know we can't control weather.
there's
Well,
everything.
the other thing that's got under D3, the grantee shall be entitled to compensation for authorized expenditures and satisfactory services completed as of the termination date. Now I know that the email here for Lance from you to actually on February 12th, talked about, if the town does decide not to move forward and return the grant, 24/3 will need to be paid back to TDEC and the town hopes future grant funding will be negatively impacted. I think that's unfair. We got a different administration who's come in with different priorities compared to what the previous one had. Okay? And we're on a short leash here trying to get something done all at once.
And I will tell you this, to add to that, these opening statements, I'll just say they're not correct. I mean, like the parking's not correct. It says this is the only amphitheater in Unicoi County. There's one at Rock Creek Park in Irwin. I've been down there in summertime and just saying.
Well, those are, and those are all debatable, obviously debatable points, but y'all, I'm really thinking, literally, we can't park cars up there. I mean, what would we do?
I don't think.
I mean, the original design that was submitted for the request, a big piece was missing. I mean, a huge piece was missing out of the request, and now it's fallen in our laps.
I don't think we can mooch off of our neighbors for a parking space.
It really does concern me. Okay, well, what else? That's all of my notes about the amphitheater. I mean, I'm not, I mean, I don't know what y'all will say about this, but I mean, I'm not totally opposed to an amphitheater type event. I'm
Have y'all seen
not,
these
or a
events?
venue. I'm not, but I'm desperately concerned about where we park cars.
I think Jonesboro actually in the process of building, going to 13 center, that's somewhat similar to what was proposed here.
McKinney Center, you said?
Senior center.
Senior Center, I'm sorry.
So any more locally that, how their success is or no?
There's one in Greenville. I found one of the elementary schools, they have a lot of summer,
Have a what now?
events at it. You want to go for Windy Park one is? I know since the lake's been drilled down, I haven't seen very much use of that one, but
I don't mean to sound so negative. It only took 3 votes to approve this. The general consensus of the people in the community I've talked to is like, how much are you gonna commit us to that? You know, like Jonesboro has a huge budget compared to ours. These schools, they got all kinds of money they can spend for. If we took our grant money out of our budget, we don't have $1.5 million a year to play with. We just don't, and it's the facts. It's like, when you look at your personal checkbook, you
How
got
much do
X
we owe
dollars.
back if we were to let this one
The
go? What
thing
do we
that
owe?
we have to look at
Is it on that sheet?
what value is this gonna present? to
It's
the
not on
town
that.
citizens?
They could answer that.
The
I'm
engineering.
not worried about Worthing County, I'm not worried
We
about
so
Carter
far have
County,
paid 20.
I'm worried about Unicoi. What value
And
is
gotten
this gonna
reimbursed.
present
So we're
to
talking
the
about
town of
that.
Unicoi citizens and maybe the Unicoi County? What
Split some
value
more.
are we gonna get? And to me, every penny we spend, I look at value, okay? I look at value. And we have to look at it like that. We can't look at it, oh, this will be fantastic, we can advertise, we've got this, I'm saying, what are we gonna gain by the people of the town of Unicoi County using it? And, you know, every project I've ever had to run, I always had to justify, what value are you gonna, if I spend 200,000, what am I gonna get in return?
What's the return on the asset?
Yeah, that's what we gotta look at too, what their return gonna be.
If we chose not to follow through with this, what is our financial liability to y'all? I understand there's other liability as outlined in the letter that we got, but financially, what is our liability? We've been reimbursed for a $24,000.
24,300 has been paid out. Ultimately, it would be TDEC's call as to whether they wanted that money returned or not. So in the other 8 years I've been with the district, we haven't encountered the situation.
Wow.
So,
That's what Ken said, though. It's like it's unusual.
so it'd be up to TDEC as to whether or not they wanted to paint. And there's also, you know, it goes down like as an incomplete project, an incomplete liability. So the terms of the contract would not have been completed. And that's one of the components that's looked at that TDEC looks at in their grant application.
Future grant application.
Well, see, this street,
All right.
not this street right here, but the next one, it's 7/10 of a mile. And this is nothing personal, what I say to any of y'all, it's not
What,
personal,
trail?
but we think the sewer's falling in. And he's had an engineering firm give us a rough estimate of $750 to $1 million to fix the street. And that's the street the school sits on. And so I think we've all got that, all this,
In the back of my mind.
it's all going on. Where do we set our priorities and how do we spend what little money we have to make it most effective for the most people? Just saying.
All right. All right. Any other questions about the amphitheater? Anybody else with anything else? Any other notes you took you want clarified before we move to the trail?
Is that 20, what'd you say, is that the total amount so far?
24,300.
24,300.
That's a total investment,
Yes, that's what has been paid.
but that's the total of all,
Yeah.
is everything billed, I guess I should say.
Yeah, there are no outstanding.
Okay.
Yeah, when we've had
Okay.
projects that didn't, that they were over budget, a lot of times the communities paid it back just to stay in good graces with the funding agency, because it's, like Lance said, it's an incomplete project.
Does that keep us in good graces?
I mean, you still have a project that didn't work, but,
Helps.
I don't know if that's a battle you want to fight or not.
There's always circumstances on everything you work with. This is a whole different situation. Because you got a whole different board coming in. You know, you've got 3 board members, that's 5. Okay, it changes the whole complexion of what's going on. And as she mentioned, when it was approved years ago, only 3 aldermen voted for it. Not 5. So there is a little difference.
All right. Well, let's go to the trail. Thank you, Lance. Thank you, Ken. Now, Jonathan, let's go to the trail.
Well, discussion about the trail, there's been a couple of things that have been brought to my attention. One was, can everyone hear me? I always feel like when I'm talking to a mask, nobody can ever hear me. Exactly where the trail was, where we are today, kind of where we began with this trail project. And forgive me for putting together just a single plan here, but I thought this would help everyone to understand where we began on the project and where it will end up. Before I move very far into talking about the trail, when I was coming in this afternoon, at the corner of Unicoi Drive and Village Place, I noticed in this area right here, there is a sign under construction. And based on a very quick look, that will be right in the middle of where the sidewalk was designed to be constructed.
Okay, good.
So, I just want to make that point up front right now, that this wasn't anything that has ever been incorporated into the trail design. I don't think that we missed something. Today was the first day I had seen
It's
this
probably
sign.
come up since you were here last
Yeah,
week.
so, kind of with that being said, where I'm going to start at is at the Buffalo Valley Trail head. When this project began, we have working with First Tennessee Development District and I think maybe even 2 administrations ago with the town of Unicoi, deciding to where our trail route would run and what the trail grant would encompass. There were 2 pieces of that puzzle. One was a sidewalk for pedestrians, The second piece of it was creating a bicycle route from the trailhead to tie into the bicycle route that runs by 107 here. And the portion that was going to be constructed along Unicoi Road was going to be utilizing the shoulders of the road and converting them to bike lanes.
There you go.
I'm
Thank
sorry.
you. No, it's all right. I threw my.
Forgive me if this bothers you, I'll back up.
No,
The second piece of this was, and I really didn't show this on this map because I think it was kind of self-explanatory, along Unicoi, and I still got the roads wrong, Unicoi Drive down to Town Hall, we were just going to be installing signage for share the road. Essentially, bicyclists, we would be using the same lane as vehicular traffic, similar they do on 107 and coming from Irwin on that portion of 107. So for the purposes of, explain where we're at, again, we were starting here at the Buffalo Valley Trail, and we were going to construct in this area a crosswalk over to a concrete sidewalk. And the reason for the placement at this location was, it was explained to us that this area here could possibly be used in the future for an expansion parking at the trailhead. So that's the reason we chose it as far down as we could, because there's property line issues. The trail itself is really close to a property line that goes up to the top of the mountain. As we come down along Powder Hollow Road, we did, at the town's request, put a stub in of the sidewalk on this side of the road. And I think I can control it. The reason for this was also, there was discussions about using this area for parking as well. Now, I don't know where that came about. That was one of the last additions that we really added to the project before it went out for bid back in 2019. We come back across the road. As I mentioned, each shoulder was going to be constructed minimally as a bike lane. For all intents and purposes, it really related down to pavement striping, except for on the north side of Unicoi Road. Because requirements for safety concerns requires us to provide a separation between the traffic and the pedestrians of a curb. So in constructing a curb there, even though we look at the asphalt and it looks relatively level and constructed in a plane, when it was put in, when we build this concrete curb, we were going to end up with bird baths all the way down through there. There was not going to flow water very well. So we were going to have to repave that entire shoulder in order to, one, for our safety to build our curb, two, for drainage. Continuing on down the sidewalk, we do cross two ramps. In this case, we are crossing the, sorry, I still remember this is 181, eastbound off ramp, crossing it at one location, and it struggled really fast. And continuing and coming underneath the interstate overpasses. In order to facilitate construction underneath the underpasses, we, in discussions with TDOT, they would not allow us to do a large excavation underneath that area. So we were, the obstacle that we, to overcome that, we want to build a small retaining wall, less than 4 feet in height, about 280 feet worth of retaining wall. It's very low, very small, but it is some substantial cost to that. One of the things from the, I hate to say the former administration, but to make sure that this retaining wall tied in with other aspects here in the town, part of the requirements for the contractor when they did it was they were to put a rock face facade over the top of this block wall that matched similar rock that was used at the visitor center, at the kitchen, And I believe even the Dollar General used some of that. So that was for everything to tie in aesthetically. Continuing on, essentially we still have our bike lane, we have our repaving in this area, our curb and our sidewalk. We do come down and again cross another interstate on-ramp. This would be the eastbound on-ramp. Cross over with a crosswalk to another ADA ramp. And in this area, we crossed down along the side of Quality Properties, which I understand that there was some discussions and the possibility of soon construction on a travel center and or a convenience center on this property. Now, one thing that we did reach out to TDOT just for clarity as to the limits of the controlled access for the interstate. We weren't able to speak with anyone directly that would give us a direct answer, but their opinion without doing a lot of research was anywhere that these little X's along here represents a chain link fence. Anywhere that fence is constructed is considered a controlled access. That's not to say that Quality Properties or whomever was going to build the convenience store couldn't get an access to State Route 173 or Unicoi Road, but it is an obstacle that TDOT will make everyone dot their I's and cross their T's to prove that it's a necessity for them to be able to connect there. And one of the reasons that we have, that I won't say that it's not possible, but the distance between Village Place Drive and this ramp is very minimal today. And putting another circulation path of vehicular traffic in this area degrades the level of service of this intersection and this intersection by its construction. But there isn't anything that we were able to confirm. I just want to make mention of that controlled access with TDOT will have to be obtained by someone if they wanted to build an entrance. Coming on down to Village Place Drive. There were a lot of discussions with the numerous administration as to which side of the road to construct the sidewalk up to the visitor center. And throughout those discussions, the decision was made to put it on the same side of the street. In the picture you guys are looking at would be on the right-hand side as it comes up to the district. And as I made mention sort of before I got started, at that intersection, we did see today, and based on that visual observation, there's a sign being constructed right in the area where we had planned to put the sidewalk.
That travel center has fake stuff right now, by the way.
It does, okay. When I saw the sign, I stopped and focused in on that and drove back. So this project has been bid twice, just kind of to bring you guys up to date on some figures that we talked about the last time. The project was bid in August of 2019, and there were no bidders at that point that provided bids to the town. And just kind of the reason that we obtained from the contractor at that point is they were just absolutely too busy to fit it into their schedule with the time frames that we had identified for construction. We had identified 90 days for construction time, substantial completion, and being 100% complete within 120 days. We made some adjustments to the time frame, reached out to numerous contractors, and rebid the project in February of 2020. We received numerous bids. We received 4 total bids. And from those bids, all bids were over budget. So we met with folks from the town and identified some possibility of cost savings. It's not shown on this particular plan because we had already been given authorization to revise the plans. There was another section of sidewalk with a crosswalk that crossed Unicoi Road to the same side as Dollar General and came down this side of the road and tied into the Maple Grove parking lot. That was identified as an area to remove in order to try to bring the project within budget. And we all know what happened shortly after February 2020. We sort of hit COVID. And that's kind of where we are today. I know Ken and I have had a couple of discussions about timing on this project. Ken, please correct me on my dates. January the 30th, 2022 is the drop dead end date for this project. Is that correct? And looking at that date, time is of the essence, same thing that y'all discussed with the amphitheater and using your grant money. Our best case scenario with weather and with work is to bid this project within the next 30, no more than 45 days from now, to put this out to contractors, wanting all of the available contractors that are interested previously wanted 120 days with 180 days of final completion. July to end of December is 180 days. So if we were bidding 45, we would roughly be starting construction 1st of May right now on a best case scenario.
See, one of the problems we've got is that when that travel center goes in, that whole intersection, they have to be redone. Correct?
I don't know. I haven't seen their plans.
Well, but I've done a little talk to some people that they have to be redone. They could be, we may have to have
this intersection?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah, we may have to have a turn lane even. You've got trucks going in and out, semis, how much space are they gonna need to go in and out?
Typically, I'll speak for, I've worked on the Love's truck stop in Meadowview, Virginia. We had to construct over 450 feet of a left turn lane into a truck stop.
Okay, so I can definitely see a major change to that spot, right?
If-
Even traffic light, because if you're coming out of, trying to come out there on Unicoi Road, you can actually sit there because people's coming up toward the interstate and coming down, and semi trying to pull that be a disaster.
Are they performing a traffic study?
Not yet.
I think, the traffic study would be your telltale as to,
Yes,
as to what improvements would be necessary.
that's great.
What he plans to do is what he's told me is to put in a rectangle building with the connector road.
Parallel.
Yeah, parallel to the
No.
connector road.
Mhm.
And like it would sit, like you've got it drawn, it would sit like this. He'll have cars here all the way around, all these bays come out front, and then tractor and trailer. It's not gonna be a stop and stay, no showers or nothing. It's just come around back, fuel up and leave. They've got some down in Knoxville similar to that way. You might have seen those. And that there's enough space for them to pull over, go in, get a snack, go to the bathroom and jump back in the truck and leave, fuel up. So it's not a lot of space, but it will take the space.
Yes.
Well, the big safety issues I got is we're crossing two ramps.
Mhm.
Major issue, major issue.
Jonathan, is the white line on this side of the road, on my side, where
Yes,
that's at that laid flat, it'd be on my side, the bottom?
Let me see if I can turn this off.
Well, that's okay, okay.
This one right here,
But no, down, on the other side, that. What is that?
that is just new pavement striping that would be installed to identify the bike lane.
Okay, so we'd have bike lane on both sides?
Correct. Yes, ma'am. When you put in a bike lane and define it, you put one in
Got to
just
go
like,
opposing traffic,
you actually go with the
with the
traffic.
traffic and a bike lane, okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so you gotta have it on both sides,
So you
okay,
would have,
Well-
in this case, an east and west
okay,
route
okay.
for bicycles.
The bike lanes. We've got people that come from out of county to practice here in our city and our county. And they constantly do not follow the laws of the road. Like right behind us here, they cut out Limestone Cove, they zoom up here and they cut right into traffic right up here. They never stop and go across the hill. if you have a bike lane, are they required to stay in the bike lane?
If there is a bike lane that is identified with pavement striping and signage, yes, ma'am.
There's not supposed to get in the,
And by law, when they're on the road, they are to follow the same laws as a vehicle.
see,
Now, I can't quote those laws, but that's the general understanding.
that's what I've been
So-
told by our chief. Other day, they was riding 4 wide here in town, 4 wide. They're only supposed to run 3 wide if they're getting repositioned, otherwise 2 wide. But we have that issue here. So I was just wondering if that would get them off the road if we had a bike lane.
Yeah, and the bike lanes on would be a minimum of 8 foot wide. So in reality, which 8 foot wide is 2 foot wider than a normal bike lane. But the reason we chose 8 feet is that's how wide the existing shoulder is. So there was no need in defining it out to be 2 foot narrower when it's already constructed. We were trying to look at doing this the minimum that we could possibly get away with,
So you're gonna use the whole shoulder.
to use the whole
You're
shoulder
gonna
of the
use
road.
whole shoulder.
Now, granted, the shoulder of the road and that bike lane can still be used as an emergency, in an emergency situation, you know. The state trooper decides to pull you over for speeding, or you have a breakdown, that side of the road would still be utilized for emergency stopping conditions.
And I have another question.
Yes, ma'am.
Why do we really need bike lanes over there to go right there at the end of that road and stop?
One of the reasons we have to get from a trail perspective, the trail that goes to the top of the mountain, it can be used for mountain biking. So any part of this that we consider and we call a part of the trail, we have to provide a path for them to still get from point A to point B. A 5 foot wide sidewalk is not wide enough on a state route road to allow both pedestrians and bicyclists on.
Okay,
If we go to a shared use path, the minimum width is 12 feet. Where we ran into our problem was underneath the interstate underpass of trying to get a path that was 12 foot wide without encroaching on the existing abutments.
can't do it.
Yeah, they're gonna let you-
Well, we could cost.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I mean, you know, we were talking about having to build a larger, more heavy-duty retaining wall. The retaining wall here would be similar to something you would put off the corner of your house for a landscaping bed. It's,
Would it not be like the one over University Parkway on 26 where they extended the turn lane? Would it not be like that one? They
this
took the
one
turn-
here, or if we had to put a 12-foot lane in.
Right.
If we had to put a 12-foot lane, yes, it would be something very substantial.
They put that wall right against the
Yes,
concrete.
yes.
We're looking at this project being 428,000.
Yes, 428,000 was the total of the grant and the municipalities.
And then our
portion.
match.
No,
No,
that is a
428
match.
included their match.
I mean, including the match, I'm so sorry,
300,000 grant, 128,000.
match.
Right.
Now, is this on the big scope before you started removing things? This is on the reduced scope.
This is on the reduced scope. You know, when we looked at this pre-COVID, we were anticipating by removal of a section of sidewalk, we were projecting a possible cost savings for removing a sidewalk that was in this area of around $67,000, which was going to get us back in line. Things that we have seen within the past couple of bids projects, concrete flat work is increasing in cost, and we are starting to see fuel cause increases across the board. And today's big Fox News headline that was down at the bottom was expect 25% increase by summer. Now, granted, that's an opinion piece, but it has been tracking higher over the past 6 weeks. So, that 67,000 that was talked, possibility savings in March of 2020, it's going to be less. What it will be today, there's a lot of variables, a lot of factors that go into our engineering estimate, and it's difficult to say whether that savings could still be had today.
A couple of contractors that I spoke to that was going to bid on that project, they were concerned that they might not make any money on the project with some of the stipulations that y'all have put in the bid package.
Such as,
Where they're being paid for material usage and stuff.
I'm sorry, I didn't get the first part.
For the material usage,
Mm-hmm.
they were paid on material usage rather than flat fee.
It's like they,
They were real concerned about that.
I find that unusual, but, they were being paid by quantity of work.
I had two different ones.
Two different ones.
Yeah.
Okay. So they would rather have seen this project bid as a lump sum.
Have they lump sum? Yes. Have they lump sum?
Okay.
Yep. For what it's worth.
Mhm. Yes. No,
See, the thing that's really killing us is what we're going to have to do with the travel center. That's a big deal.
Mhm.
And crossing the two rounds is a big deal, safety wise.
yes,
It's not like you go over entry.
And the traffic's just gonna pick up.
Yes, traffic will pick up to the travel center there, yes.
So
Traffic will.
much has happened
Mhm.
since these grants have been out. I mean, it's just thrown us for a total loop, in addition to COVID.
He told me he's planning on 3 mil there. And again, he doesn't know, and we don't know what the impact of that intersection is gonna be, if he's gonna have a multitude of cars, or, where big trucks get fuel up and down this I-26 and
Yeah.
connector 81 and wherever else. And it's amazing what comes out of right here.
Oh, I can believe that. That comes down out by the mountain,
So,
cuts across.
we get a lot of Carter County plus North Carolina. So he's hoping he gets a big impact, but we don't know quite yet.
Yes, ma'am.
And it is going to be shale. So that's an up for him. It was going to be Marathon next shale.
Oh, my goodness.
And I'll be happy, I know you guys gotta have a discussion. I'll be happy to answer any questions. I'll step out of her way in case she needs to do something with the computer, or I'll put my mask back on now that I'm done running my big mouth.
I appreciate that visual. That was
Yeah,
really
well, I was
helpful.
hoping that would help.
Yeah, that was.
Our
very helpful.
construction plans are great for contractors, and sometimes they don't lead persons to seeing what's really gonna be constructed with this. So I hope this visual helped. Like I said, I started making individual sheets, 8.5 by 11, and at 45, I stopped doing them. I said, no, okay, let's back out.
What's our financial involvement right now?
This one, it's on this page right here.
30, 31,
Yes, sir.
Oh, I'm on the wrong page. No, I'm on this one.
3,900.
We pulled, I guess 49 is the total, 31.
3,900. What'd you say?
50,000.
We done pull 50,000 out.
Well, part was our match, right? So 31,865.
Yeah.
Have we spent about 50 on this so far?
Yeah, I got a total of 49,144.
Okay.
So basically 50. I did not, the last request for payment we processed was Tyson County bill through February of last year. I haven't gathered what's happened since. And we haven't actually invoiced.
Yeah.
Again, anything, because we have realized where the town is in deciding, and there's not a lot of cost there. And if the town decides, or however the town decides to move forward,
we will either go against it or we won't.
Okay, yeah, okay.
49 and 44.
All right, y'all, anything else?
Please keep in mind that sign out there will cause some.
Issue, I wrote it down. Did you happen to notice a hat on it when you came in?
I'm sorry.
Was there a hat on it when you came in?
There was something on the top of it. I was focused in on the bottom. I was going,
What was
can
it?
we push it? Is that just a
There's a
foundation? I drove up and
There's
read
a hat on top of our pole.
They just up it, I mean, just like last week. Yeah, it just happened. Yeah.
The timing of all of this is just like awesome. I mean, it's difficult, very difficult.
Yeah.
Very difficult to try to process and juggle.
I hate to throw it out all the time, but I feel like I've got to how wide a road will we need that first city last 10 minutes as far as things
On Village Place, how wide would you need it? It's currently 36 feet wide, face of curb, face of curb. Without knowing the exact specifics of how many trucks they're anticipating per day, if this is going to be a small station, I would think that 36 feet in width for one lane in, one left turn and one right turn would be adequate. If you get a greater volume of trucks, you might need to look at a full right turn lane that takes them all the way to the interstate ramp as well. But there's a lot of factors. That's the reason I'm saying the traffic study that, so I say quality properties, I don't know if it's them or not. The traffic study would be your indicator as to what.
Because the big key is coming out, going up the interstate, they're pulling that, going upfield. That'd be a killer on traffic.
And probably starting out, just like any business, it always builds, it'll keep building.
Well, and also when people come off the west, they're coming east to west, they got a little hill to climb to go up there. And so we may need a center lane out on the main road to put them there to make their turn instead of letting everybody stack behind them. So we don't know.
Well, they won't stay behind them. I'm curious. The Wednesday, Thursday, two of them passed me on the right corner as I was waiting to turn in with 2 cars. Passed me on the right.
They go off onto the shoulder all the time to get around each other. I know.
And I only waited for one car to come up before I turned. I wouldn't sit. It's bad. And that was less.
They do it right out here. Too. They do it right out here too. Turning into Marmleton, they pull into that Cracker Beach parking lot to go around there. Okay. All right. Anything else for these guys? I know if you had a question at a later point in time, I know we could get, if y'all would just make contact with Debbie, I know she'd share an email address. Okay, an email address and email directly with some questions if somebody had one. I think Jonathan as well share an email address if somebody could, Debbie will share for you, but you would be open to, if an alderman wanted to email to clarify some information.
Something else, there may be a packet. You got the 49, 144 number, but the ARC grant is paid for a little under 32,000, and the local match is a little over 17.
Yes,
I put that,
Yeah.
their books, they have that.
yes, and I did notice that split.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. All right, so once again, I appreciate you being here. We've got to build our experience and our knowledge about what we got going on. We got to make decisions about, and I think I have a handle on the implications. But if anybody has specific questions, and no telling what would happen if we did these out, they all come in over with the price of stuff these days. I mean, petroleum's just gonna go up, asphalt's gonna go up, concrete's gonna go up, everything's gonna go up.
Surprisingly, from our perspective, we haven't seen as much of an increase in asphalt as we would have thought we would have seen by this point. It's been in concrete. So,
We don't get our asphalt plant here, there won't be any, I'm just kidding.
I'm gonna,
Stay out of that one, don't go there.
I'm gonna stay in neutral.
Yeah, stay in neutral on that one, yeah. Okay. All right. Good timing to become an elected official, I'll tell you. Okay, are we good? Are we good? You good, everybody good? Okay, everybody's nodding to me, they're good. So I guess that means they're good. Or they're lying, but they can reach out later if they have something.
I was just checking
Are
the
you
time.
Yes, once again, thank you. Hopefully we'll get our ducks in a row and this won't be necessary right away. But anyway, I appreciate y'all. I really do. Have a good evening and stay safe, stay healthy.
Thank you.
Bye.
Okay.
Unless you want to stay and talk about the employee policy. I mean, you're welcome to stay if you want to. We're very friendly, open, you know.
maybe the next time.
Maybe next time. Okay, bye.
We've said enough to him.
I think he's already know.
I was just trying to be friendly. Just trying to be. Okay, bless it. I don't know if I know the one I did before they got here.
Well, that's the first time I've seen that aerial view of,
It looked
That
better
trail.
that way.
because I really couldn't wrap my brain around exactly how it was supposed to be.
Well, my
Now, you
thing
know-
is, it goes to nowhere. To me, and I'll say this without them. To me, if we commit to that, then we need to commit to everything to go to Irwin, because,
See, and Irwin is still working on
And-
that.
and we
Joint
don't,
Economic Development Board is still working
But I'm-
on that.
but
on
I'm
that.
saying, if we don't do any more than that, what good is that?
Which it is just a piece.
You know,
My devil's advocate is
and,
just a piece.
and then when you look at, I was here the night, they brought all the women in and they brought big signs up and,
That was for the one to go down.
No, but I'm-
Unicoi Drive, yeah.
yeah, but if we do this one, we'll eventually cut across the bridge and come down through here. We take the side out of the old fire department, the parking on this side of the church, they'll have to build a wall there. And they'll
If
come
they
in front of
went with
that
that
store.
project, but there's no promise to go with that project.
But
My
if we,
goodness.
but I'm saying, if we don't commit to the big project, why build one little segment of it? I mean, that's.
Well,
my- I don't
we don't-
expect, I don't
yeah, I know.
expect to answer. I'm just saying, that's the question in my mind of,
Well, for Debbie and, well, you were here then, the big thing, the night that ladies in Knoxville showed those plans, they overlooked one minor detail. A walkway across the railroad tracks up here. If you have it down on Maple Road, how you gonna get over to Unicoi Drive? It probably cost $1 million to build a handicapped pedestrian walkway across there.
that's what I'm saying. If we commit.
Debbie's thinking, I can tell.
Well,
I'm quiet, but I'm always thinking.
all right, well, let's keep with the project at hand.
Yeah, I'm
Let's
just
not
saying.
Talk about the project that could come 5 years from now. Keep with the project at hand. Okay. We ready to go to the employee policy? Anybody take some notes? I started my notes on page 4.
Mhm.
Pretty quickly, although it only started on page 3. Well, after the stuff.
I had notes there too.
Okay.
Hey, same place, you're smart.
I think I'm just gonna I'm gonna start off with my suggestions and then y'all can chime in. Let's see here. It says the minimum required standards for education and experience. I think the physical demand of the job needs to be included in that as well. Lifting, climbing ladder, you know what I mean? If there's physical demands, lifting things. Most job descriptions, oftentimes they'll have that sort of information in it. Walking, standing. You know, if the primary function is going to be sitting behind a desk and a computer, that's what it's primarily sitting. But, you know, you may have to climb a step stool to get into a cabinet, or, I mean, whatever.
So you want to expand our hiring procedure? Is that where you're?
I think the descriptions for physical demand of the job needs to be in there.
You want to expand it?
Now, that can go into their job descriptions, which we don't have good job descriptions. We've got to redo those.
I was gonna ask if we had them.
Well, we did have them, and we don't have the flash drive that has them. Because Fernando went through and did job descriptions on everyone when he was here as an intern, and all that, and ordinance stuff, and
Can we find Fernando?
resolutions were all put on a flash drive, and we no longer have it.
Does he still, do you know if he has it?
Well, he
Does
was
Tina have
from,
it, or
where was
info?
he from? Ashley,
I really don't know.
I want to say.
Oh, if it's
I
in
wanna say
Argentina.
Argentina.
But he came through his ETSU, didn't he?
Yes.
Okay, well, we're
All
gonna have to
those were
recreate
done,
those.
but yes,
Yeah,
it
he
should
worked
be
a long time.
included in your job description as well.
Yeah, so I just think minimum standards, it says for education and experience. I just think somewhere in there needs to be a word for, just somewhere in there, physical demands. Yeah. Can we just make notice that some jobs have more physical demand than others?
Yeah.
And then we can get specific on the job description. Is that all right?
Because each one's different.
Okay. New employee orientation. Well, what else did y'all have up there? Anything?
My only question was, do we even have the descriptions?
And
Definitions.
we've seen some bits and pieces of them, but we're not good. We got to get those fixed. New employee orientation. It says all new employees will be given an orientation. It says what the orientation will do, but it doesn't say who's going to provide the orientation or how many hours it's going to last. It says they're going to get paid for it. And then it doesn't say that they have to sign off on it. Those were my ideas when I got to that paragraph.
Now, somewhere in the back, they have to sign out.
Yeah, they do in the back.
On the back sheet.
Yeah.
Somewhere back
If
there.
they get.
Yeah.
Acknowledge.
Yeah.
acknowledge.
But what about that they got the orientation? The orientation is something different than the handbook. The orientation is for their job. It says they will receive an orientation.
A completed,
We need to have a planned orientation. It says they will visit, they'll take a
completion sheet.
town history, a tour of town facilities, administrative protocols, introduction to other employees, a review of town structure. They have to take one of our books home and
I was
read
gonna
our
say,
codes and
yeah,
ordinances.
Now, I did have a tour of everything.
Well, a city recorder, I'd say.
When I first started.
Yeah.
Who gave you that? to me?
Larry Gray.
So the previous,
Well, he was interim. The
Mhm.
previous
Right, right.
reporter had already left. He
Right.
left in April.
Anyway, so who's prepared a town history? Do we tell it to them? Do we give them a piece of paper? Yeah, we can do the tour. What are the administration protocols? It's
You know,
it's
I
like
read-
all this stuff looks lovely, but what is it?
I read a lot about the town of Unicoi on the website and knew a lot of the information before I came for my interview.
You were a very prepared interviewee.
Oh, well, thank you.
I mean, I'm not sure everybody does that.
Kathy, we need a video on our new employee orientation, do a video of it.
And just have them come and sit and watch a video.
Yes,
Mhm.
yes.
And have somebody.
that's
See
right.
that they watched it all the time, they did or
That's
whatever.
exactly right.
But I'll be on it, actually. I'll do some talking and you can do some talking. We'll share the talk.
Anyway, that would suffice for that.
That'd be all right?
You know, I was with Debbie there. I got the tour. I got introduced to people. A brief description of what I was going to be doing. That was a little more Yes, thank you. The town's code and ordinances, I wasn't spoken to on all, and the town employee policy I was handed, told to sign, and that was the end of that discussion. There was not a lot of questions to be asked there. And then later on, as I had questions, we didn't necessarily have answers. So I got part of what she got, and I was with her. Before any interview, you do your research on the website if you want the job. And the
That
information.
is the way to be prepared. for
Yes,
her.
and the information on the about section, the history of the town, the brand, things like that was on there. And we have that on this current site.
And we can cut and paste a little bit of video together? Like pull out the town history, pull out some of that stuff, but then record some new stuff? And like cut and paste it together for an orientation video?
Well, not sure how much history we have on video other than like what the history group has done, but yeah, I can look at it and see what we've got and what we can piece together. I can do that.
Okay.
Do we have job applications for people
Yeah.
for all of them?
Are they on the website?
I have seen applications in there. I was not given an application to fill out. Were you, Ashley?
No, it was by resume.
Okay, all I did was resume as well.
Not drug test either, did you?
A drug test, we did a background check,
That's
we
it.
did,
That's it.
okay, we did background checks, fingerprinting,
That's on a background check.
I was like. yeah, I'll show you
Well,
my
it
fingerprint.
depends, not always.
Okay. We had all that,
Depends on how extensive.
but there was
the
never an
background check is.
application, just the resume. And I don't think they checked my references. Did they check your references?
They did a background check and I think, yes, they did check my references. Lois checked.
And I think it's also Hardy kind of filled us in a little bit too. Pat Hardy was there
Right.
when we had the interview.
Right, yeah. All right, anything else on that one? We just need to clean that up for sure, but I'll work on that. Is this on our March? This isn't on our March agenda, is it?
No.
Okay,
Oh, no.
goodness, thank you.
Well, I figured we'd have to do another
Okay.
work session
All right,
to
well,
go through this. It's huge.
okay, non-exempt status and overtime. I think we've got to deal with this compensatory time in here, even the sentence that it exists. Town employees are classified as exempt or non-exempt for the purposes of determining overtime payment in accordance with Fair Labor Standards Act. Exempt employees are not eligible for overtime. Exempt employees shall not have paid compensatory time. Exempt employees with the approval of their supervisor may take time off after extra hours have been worked. And that may not be a good word. Does it need to be 8 in a day or 40 in a week?
Neither,
You know what I'm saying?
neither.
Well, no, because an exempt employee, I think, should be able to take a couple of hours off on an afternoon if they have a doctor's appointment to make up for 2 hours that they work the week prior, or if they worked 8 hours on a Saturday and they work Monday through Friday. I think they ought to be able to take a day and trade it back. That's my opinion. I think they ought to be able to take a day, but you get paid regular pay. It's not necessarily getting paid for compensatory time. You got to take it as sick or vacation. They get a lot of days, and I'm open for discussion. It's just me talking. I'm just starting. I'm just creating the discussion. When I go back here to the back, tell me if I'm wrong. Let me go back. I don't know what page it's on, where it talks about the holidays and whatnot. I know towns do a lot of stuff on weekends. That's why I
Are you on
think
page 13?
I'm on page 13. The town, towns do a lot of stuff on weekends and evenings. Look at here, we're in an evening event right now. 13 holidays, 13 sick, and after the first year, 5 vacation. That's 33 days. That's a month of time off. And if the holiday falls on a weekend, they get to take the Friday or the Monday. That's 30 days.
It's pretty easy after they've been here a few years to have 2 months off per year. And there's another question about accumulation of sick days. We'll talk about that when we get
Okay,
there.
so that's why I'm going over here to this
Let's just stay where we are.
comp time. It's just my regular, I think it's just regular pay. They just take it as regular pay.
Well, I'm
But
just,
they're not taking that of a comp time balance. Nobody should be keeping a comp time balance.
I'm gonna give you the
That's
example
what
we
I'm
had
saying.
here, Ken, of last week.
Yeah.
Debbie and Roger and I was talking about this subject last week. And it says, if you need to take pay off, you gotta take at least 4 hours. And her question was, if I go to the dentist early in the morning, I'm back by 9:30, why do I have to take 4 hours pay? Roger said, you're exempt. You don't have to take any time off.
To Debbie?
Yeah. She's exempt.
Mhm.
It's not really defined what is expected. It's not what us 5 people and the employees think. We need to set it up so no matter who's sitting in these chairs or these chairs, a 5th grader could understand what it means. And it's just not defined right here, is it?
But I think the state has some things that says about what's exempt and not exempt, and that's kind of what we discussed, because we had a lot of discussion on that back and forth. And I think what the state defines as exempt and not for the state of Tennessee.
See, now coming up, if Ashley does the apple or strawberry festival, she's gonna be prepping 2 or 3 days ahead of time, or how long, and then I'm assuming the day, you're gonna be down there all day that Saturday.
She'll work 16 or more hours on that
So-
Saturday.
So what's her deal?
Well,
You know,
I think they say too, as long as if you get your job done, so you've got your job done and it's covered, everything is covered, you've got your job done, then you can take time off if it takes how many hours it takes for you to do your job that week. If it's a 40-hour week and say that you've got your job done and it's covered, then you can take off. That's according to the state of Tennessee.
but what if we come in here every week and she's gone 3 hours early every day? And I'm just using you as an example. You don't
Okay.
do, you don't, she
Okay.
does
She
not do
won't be
this.
on 3 hours every day, because she
No.
has to get that cleared through me. and
No, but
I
I'm
don't
just
make
saying,
that-
but I'm saying,
Debbie won't answer.
if she
that.
says, oh, my work's done, goodbye.
No, no.
You know,
No.
But
No,
it's,
no.
but this is open for that same discussion, right?
You have to have worked over, you have to have worked over the 40
It don't
hours. You
say
have-
that.
It does too. It says extra hours. It doesn't say that clearly, but that's where the extra hours come
But it
in.
don't say what is
Let me
it.
show you y'all how
Yeah, we
I
gotta clear that
operated for 39 years before. I had several people had early. Several people, I knew they worked over. And if they want to take off an hour or two the next week or next day, I'd let them do it. We didn't write it down. It's just the way it works. That's the way we should do it here. Okay,
When I worked at the med center and I was on call for the weekend, I got the next Friday off.
but I'm saying.
Nothing
it's up to your
document a day
supervisor.
off, just I got the next Friday
It's
off.
up to the supervisor,
My direct supervisor.
right, you say, take it off, if you need to go, take it, go. Okay,
Well, when I managed the cafeteria over at SPS at that time, they told me that if I got everything caught up and it's on a Friday and I need some extra time, just need to get out, but and I want the extra hours stuff, they told me to take,
But see,
and
this
they
is
just
the-
left it up to me. I was over my own self, I didn't have anybody over me that was over me right at that building,
And
that's what
I
they told
remember
me.
this conversation years ago when this came up. And to me, it's gotta be, you report to who? Okay. Kathy, Susan.
Me for work, Debbie for time.
Okay, let's say that you report just to her. You work over, she knows how much you work over, next week you want, the next day you want to take off some time, you talk to her, she says, bye. Okay? You don't keep track of the time or anything, because you can't do that.
Not the over, not
Right.
the over
Okay.
Because you're not getting any compensation for it.
That's correct. That's great. So it's up to the supervisor.
It's a
should-
professional
Mhm.
responsibility.
Correct.
It is a
Yeah.
professional responsibility.
Yes.
That's a good way to say
To
that.
use your time wisely, yet
Yes.
if you've worked a bunch of extra, to be able to take some time to compensate for that without it being called
That's correct.
compensatory time. But it's a professional
Mhm.
responsibility. You gotta get your work done,
Well, and.
you know what I mean? And then
Right.
you get to,
And
you
know
get
your
that
job
trade-off.
Description that day, what hours it takes to do what it does. And like you say, if you're in a position where you're accountable, then, you'll be accountable on that too, if you're an honest employee.
But see, there's benefits of being salary.
And there's some
Debbie,
drawbacks.
I'll use her again. You gotta go to dentist, you take off an hour or two, you come in, go to work, you don't worry about it. You don't use sick days. Okay, at the perk of being
Salaried.
salary, okay? And that's the way it works, people. That's the way it works.
That's the
But
way
now-
it's
but now
working in
here's
my world.
here's another loaded question. You know, y'all, I irritate you, I know, but if she can do that, why give her any sick days? Just let her take off. She's salary.
Not if she hasn't worked over.
But it
Not if she
doesn't,
hasn't
but it
worked over.
doesn't say what
It
is.
does. Well, we can clarify what the
But I'm
working
saying-
over is.
Yeah,
We can
That-
clarify
that
what
makes
the
sense.
working over is.
I'm gonna try to stay out of it.
no, but I know you had questions and
Well, I couldn't see, why.
you've been taking your time.
I know when the guys take off, if they're sick, they have to take off 4 hours
Cause they're,
because they're hourly.
yes,
Mhm.
yes.
And they have to take the 4 hours,
Yeah.
even though they may only need an hour to be off.
Is that written in here?
Yeah.
It is.
And that's
I
probably
missed
written in the
it, 'cause I
state
don't
of, that's
agree
probably
with
written in
that.
the state of Tennessee, I would say.
Well, I
because
think
know
I asked
that.
Roger about it, maybe, I don't know, when I
I
first
missed
came, or
that.
maybe
That's a
when
huge
you
chunk
got
of
on the
your
board,
hourly.
and you said
It
you
is.
thought that
I
it was
understand
because
from
of
like us when we were
bookkeeping.
teaching,
Right.
because
Of what?
the subs
You
were
thought
like
it was
that.
because
You know
of
what I mean?
bookkeeping,
Yeah,
that it made it easier to do the books.
right.
I don't think that's
Nothing,
right.
nothing says they have to use, if they're sick for 2 hours, they don't have to use their 4 hours.
Where does it
They
say
just
that?
deduct 2 hours
Well,
from the
it
pay.
does say that in the book, about 4 hours.
All I'm saying,
Listen to what he
what I'm
just said.
saying is, why, if Tony comes in 3 hours late, just deduct 2 hours from his pay. He's got a timesheet that says how many hours he works.
Yeah, but see, he would stay out 4 because he knows he has to take 4.
But what he's saying, if he's here
Why
by
should
9
he?
o'clock, just pay him for 7 hours that day and he takes 1 hour
Well,
without
That's what
pay.
should happen, but what
Yeah.
she's saying is the policy says
Policy
you have to
doesn't
take
say.
minimum of 4 hours sick time, and that's what we
Well,
gotta
okay,
fix.
It
okay.
should say
And I'm
if
trying
you
to
use,
find
it
it.
should
Yeah.
say if you
That
use
is
sick pay.
correct. Sick time, there's two different things, sick
I
time
can't even.
versus regular time work.
Okay,
Okay, if he wants to call it sick time, then he would be 4 hours. But if he just says, I'm gonna only show 7 hours work today.
Yeah, no.
That's fine.
so we just pay him an hour less.
Yes.
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 Keep up
And
with
he
the
can save
hours
his
and
sick
the
pay
days
for
he
something
worked.
else.
But, yeah, they
The
have
the
time
day he
sheets.
worked, his
But what
hours.
if he needs a full paycheck to make his bill?
Well, he's gonna have to figure that out.
But if he uses the sick time.
He has to use
That's
4
right.
hours.
That's great.
Why? I think that's awful. That's my
But
opinion.
see, it's-
For number
it's
one,
good.
tell me where in the book it is. Tell me where here it is. I can't find it.
Maternity leave.
And we are hashing it out, and I can't find it.
Let me see.
I thought I read this pretty clearly, but I can't find it.
It's on 12.
12?
I believe. And carries on to
13, yeah. Yep, down at the bottom.
Okay, 13 days a year.
Now read what that says.
I'm reading the whole thing. Sick leave will be earned at a rate of 13 sick days per year of active service and may be accumulated except for on whatever. Okay, the purpose of sick leave are included. Maximize sick leave accrued. Additional sick leave accumulated. The town reserves the right to require a doctor's sick leave shall be taken in increments or whole or half days.
But
I
now,
don't like that. I'm
Here's-
sorry, but I don't like that.
here's my question. If, I'm gonna use her again, she don't seem to
What if
get
he
mad
went
at me.
home sick with a virus vomiting at 2:30? He can't take 2 hours of sick time?
No,
He's gotta go take 4?
Well, we can change it.
well,
I mean, that's why it's
it becomes a nightmare for her to keep the time down.
no, it really isn't. I don't
It
know.
shouldn't. It's
It
nothing new.
doesn't, because you can put in 2 hours sick time
Right.
on
It'd be
your
the same.
payroll.
All that's done over the past in other businesses is keeping people from going home an hour or two early or coming in an hour or two late, and it can be anything. But now this sick leave, it says, will be earned at the rate of 13 sick days per year at active service. Well, if she stays with us 10 years and she gets 13 days per year, she's gonna get 130 days sick pay for one.
No,
No, that just means
There's a-
13 days every year, isn't it?
there's a
that you get?
cap, there's a cap on your sick
Yeah,
time.
that's always a cap.
You can only carry so much over.
But it
Yeah.
don't say it.
Yeah, it does. Somewhere it says you can't carry a
Somewhere
bunch of
in
sick
here
time
says
over. Because I read that one. I did read that.
So it said additional sick leave accumulated below this level shall be forfeited, so.
Yeah, there we go.
And that's on
What page you-
13.
13.
Yeah.
30 days. Yeah, 30 days.
Yeah, so it tells you that.
There we go. Yes. But it says forfeited additional 30, the maximum sick leave accrual permitted during employment. So at any given point in time, if you get to 31 days, you just don't get to earn it.
Mhm.
Okay,
If you lose it.
okay, all right.
Unless you have to use it.
Okay, so,
So what are we gonna do about that?
I think
The
sick leave
exempt time.
ought at least, oh, wait, are we on sick or exempt?
We didn't finish exempt.
We're on exempt.
We didn't finish exempt.
I would like to eliminate comp time, the last 4 cities on that. We talked about comp time in lieu of overtime. I'd just pay them straight out and have it done.
On exempt, non-exempt.
No, concert time, off in lieu of overtime. Not exempt employees.
On page what, 4?
For,
Okay.
no, we're just paying, if they work overtime, pay them overtime.
Well, that's what we're doing right now anyway.
Yes, it is, right.
That's for Tony.
If Tony, Danny,
Yeah.
or Patricia works over, they get paid time and a
I
half.
think they have to by law, isn't it? I think
Oh, yeah.
that is the law.
After
They have-
yeah.
Well, or they can get comp time,
Oh, they can, so.
and they
say
get
that.
No.
time and a half at comp time.
But what do we do about the exempt if they
I
work
think we should
overtime?
cover it.
Or if they don't work 40? What do we do either way?
Maybe let's finish this one on concert time off.
No.
I think we need to remove that, just pay everybody straight time and a half to work overtime.
Yeah, and then that way you have that, they
That's
get
exactly-
paid and on their paycheck, they know exactly what they got. There's no
Exactly.
catch up, nobody has to keep up with it.
You're correct, yep.
That's for hourly wage.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's for hourly wage. The other one, you can't pay them time, you can't pay them
right.
overtime. So it flips the other way.
And the reason I bring this up, when Lee Bennett retired from the water department, we paid him a fortune on comp time.
Well,
Thousands and thousands.
we're having
of
that discussion, of course, with the animal welfare board too.
So this eliminates it.
That's just, yes.
Now, what do we do about the exempt?
Well,
This exempt,
Just what we said.
they just see
It's
their own.
professional responsibility.
Yeah, because see, but on them, they don't get any overtime at all, but they can take some time, have they done their job and they need.
So what if they
whatever.
miss a day? What if they miss 3 days this week? What happens?
They don't get overtime if they've used any sick,
They
or they're not
They don't
overtime.
get-
They can't
overtime.
use compensatory
No.
time if they've been sick.
What if they need to take 3 days off this week for personal? What happens?
Well, if
They
they have to
schedule
do,
it,
they
they
have
take
to
it
do
off.
their
And
job.
they still get paid?
If they've got vacation days to use, or they use sick time,
Yeah, see, this is just, they can take some, say they, like you're saying, Ashley works on Saturday.
Yeah.
And she might say, the next day she says Tuesday, I've got everything caught up. Tricia's gonna be here at the center, it's gonna be open. I'm gonna take my hours off, it makes up that time.
Swap it out.
Swapping out time, that's more or less what that's supposed to be, swapping out your time, and sometimes you don't. And it's kept off too, I think, on that a certain time. I mean, she can't just build up a lot of time and say, I've got that either.
But what if somebody's sick and they have no vacation or no sick time and an exempt has to take time off? What happens then?
they get paid.
Hmm?
They get paid.
Regardless.
They get a 40 hour, according to the state too, they get a 40 hour, if they work 12 hours, they work 40 hours. I mean, that's rare that anybody could get their job done in 12 hours, or you wouldn't be. hiring
that's
them.
why it's a
Yeah.
professional responsibility to be a
And-
salaried employee.
That's about the only way to
It
say
is an
that.
absolute
Mhm.
professional responsibility
to
to be a
put that in
salaried
here.
employee.
You know what?
Well, they're supposed to, I mean, that's the job,
Yeah.
they're hiring for that job, and that would more or less, that would let you know that that's what they're supposed to do.
One thing, it's not an hour for hour or day for day,
No,
okay?
no,
Because
it's not.
let's say that Judy worked 2 hours over, and I said, well, you take 3 or 4 hours, go someplace, or you work the other way around,
Mhm,
your salary,
It can be either way.
it can be either way,
Mhm.
yeah.
I could not be here or I could be too long.
mhm, right, right.
But this is a really small place. When somebody's not here, we generally know it.
We have just been sued so many times.
I don't anticipate that any of our salaried employees are gonna take advantage. Okay, I don't anticipate that they're gonna take advantage.
So really, that top part to me is fine, you know, like you say, it's professional, the supervisor's gonna take care of it, whoever you or Debbie or whoever.
Mhm.
Only thing
Ashley
there-
calls me for like procedure, policy, process questions. But she talks to Debbie when she's like sick or, you know, needs a day or blah, blah, blah. But actually, I don't mean to be saying anything out of turn. But, you know, we all make an appointment, you know, at 4:30, you know, to get there the last thing, or 4:45, or the last appointment I think is at 5:15. I just need to leave a few minutes early to get there. Go.
So-
I trust you're doing your job.
Go.
Go.
Mhm. And sometimes your appointment can't even be at the end, it has to be in the middle of the day, you know, with appointments.
Around lunch or something. Yeah. So, I mean, it's like, go.
Yeah.
I want
In other words, do.
I want to
you-
trust people and I want people to be trustworthy.
And you want the job done, that they're hired to do, that's the
Are
main
we
thing.
okay,
is-
Okay.
Debbie? Are we okay?
Remain.
I'll bow down here.
At least
You can
nobody
leave early
did.
without
Well, I
taking
think
vacation,
that
or
one thing
I'm
that
so
needs
used
to
to
be
walking in
understood
literally all the time.
is from the, you know, the point of the,
You're
and
just
I know
not
that
there.
I'm the only
I mean, just because I know
one here,
but we work that hard.
I know what she thinks. She thinks if she leaves 30 minutes early, that'll be the day somebody comes in here and needs something.
No, just send the message. Everybody has a right to
You
go
do
take care of what they
feel
gotta
that
take
way,
care
don't
of.
Are we good then? Are we good?
Okay, well, I don't think we're actually putting this together as our type up copy that we're making this. Go.
I know, like, for at least how this affected me originally when all this started was, I had worked a festival. And it's not just the 2 days before the festival, it's
It's
2
months.
weeks, the months, it's lots of overtime, especially the day of. And keep in mind, when you're the only person who's not being paid to be there. All of the people who are working under you are being paid except for volunteers. Most of them come and go, we're only do a half a day. And the week after I came and said, I'm moving. And in order to do my job, I need the internet. And I need to go to Irwin and set that up. And our attorney informed us that our policy did not support that at that time. That was a concern. I know that was an issue. Because it didn't say. She said it doesn't say she can, it doesn't say she can't. We're in this limbo. We need to define it. So when the other staff was asked, and I know we all sat here, I know Lee was right with me. I don't remember if Andy spoke, but that was one thing, is that we do give a lot of hours, and why you guys absolutely see if we're not at the office on a certain day, do people see the hours over, the hours extra? Not always. Sometimes they do, not always. So I think that's where we were coming from, was just wanting to keep it legit. We weren't trying to take too much, or, in fact, I knew when that was given to us that I would never be able to use all of that. I also, because I have a job to do. At the end of the day, that job has to be done. So even if I have 100 hours I could take, I can't take that and still get my work done. And then on the other side of that coin is, we know that there is no financial. If we leave tomorrow or let go tomorrow, there's no financial compensation for that time. It's just, while we're here, if I need to go do something with the electric department, or in fact, it was the fiber. I didn't have internet and I had to pay like extra $30 for a week to have internet because I couldn't leave my job that day. And that
You
was rough.
should have had the freedom to go do that. And I'm sorry, but Lois Schultz is not your boss.
No, but she was consulted because it was unclear. It was unclear.
I'm sorry.
And I think you guys see that it's unclear.
That was on the recording.
Well, that's
that it
why
was.
we're,
Yeah.
we all need to just know, and this discussion is good because we've all got thoughts about it. And-
Well,
and-
that was definitely the day that I was ready to say, wait a second, I just
You know,
worked
let me
all
rethink
this time
this
and I
decision. Yeah.
can't go get my internet hooked up
Yeah.
in the town I've moved to.
Yeah.
So It was
Well,
frustrating.
see,
Well,
on your
Andy
job
works
number one, like Debbie's is closed unless she has to come in and do something, which she hasn't done a lot of that when she first got hired. But the office is closed here on Saturday and Sunday. But on yours, that's where the events are. So that's where some of her time gets off. On some
Absolutely.
of her days,
And a lot
because
of our
hers is a
events are
different job description. And you knew that when you got the job, that you'd have to work some on weekends.
Yes.
With it,
But we were
that's-
also, now, when I took this job, I was told, granted, it was verbal. It was in that city administrator's office by the previous city recorder. That anytime I worked a weekend, I could take that time the next week. When I went to use that, what I was told, that person was no longer here. And there were questions as to where did that come from? And I said, well, that's exactly what, and
See,
under,
I'm in agreement with Michael Borders. Michael Borders probably told you that. Yeah. See, that's professional, and that's treating somebody like a professional.
How do you handle a situation where, let's say you're working over, let's say it's budget time, and you're working 7 days a week and you're doing that for several weeks.
Mhm.
Okay. Then how do you, when you can't take off the next week, you just get behind if you do. So how do you handle that kind of situation?
Just take the time off when you've got
Yeah, I
everything
would
else
think
piled
that
up
would
on
carry
labor.
over.
It's like a 3 or 4 weeks late, if it's a couple of weeks later, just take it off then and just know
Okay.
that's what you've done,
Okay, but how do you keep up with that?
Or just write it down. I guess you could personally write it down because yours is a
Spreadsheet.
professional job.
In
And,
your
Yeah.
situation, you will be telling me or asking me.
and say I've
The
worked over
budget's
so
done,
long.
we've got it published, it's passed. I'm gonna take a couple extra days
Mhm.
this week. Or I like Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, it ought to be quiet.
Mhm.
You've scheduled days anyway. I've realized when I have conversations with you, and you take days that are kind of in between some of the demands, like I think you figured out what weeks are the chillest,
Right.
which week of the month
And you
is
just
the
continue
is
doing
the
that.
most chill.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Where you don't have to have something published or ready to go.
Right.
But the documentation could be a simple spreadsheet and just keep it.
Mhm.
See, that's
for
kind of
Kathy.
what, that's
Or
kind of
just-
what we do in our timesheet.
Sure.
With,
Okay,
if
one
we work
thing,
over, we put down that we've worked over,
Mhm.
and that gets keyed into a line on the actual payroll
Mhm.
software. And then when you use that time,
Takes
it's
it off.
taken off.
Take it
You know
off.
what? I think maybe our problem is the word we're using, compensatory. Maybe if we came up with another word.
well, one
I mean,
thing,
really, I wonder if we're kind of hung on the word.
well, we're hung on one more thing. We're
Right.
hung on hour for hour and day for day. We gotta forget that.
Yeah,
Okay?
see, I don't think it has to
We
be.
gotta
on there.
forget day for day and hour for hour, okay? When I went to China for 3 weeks, did I count all those days off? I got back? No.
And you went 20 times.
Yes.
Well, it's like
You
the
know.
travel time.
It's not a
Well,
day
it's
for
the
day and
main
hour
thing
for
Is this
hour.
how they do
the
it
job
in
gets done.
Is that what
Right.
you're
That's the bottom line. That's the job that they're
But you
that they're
can't-
hired for and quality, that the
But
job
they
has
also
to get
pay
done.
But the
you know.
salary, you can't count hour for hour and day for
No.
day.
No.
And I don't think anybody expects to do that.
All right, let's mull it. I don't think we have to make any kind of decision tonight, but let's mull that one over. Let's sleep on it and see how we do in the morning. I want our employees to feel cared about. I don't want them to feel threatened by it. In my mind,
Because you want to keep them.
treating an exempt like that is a good thing, but I'm hearing it on the flip side that maybe it's not quite as good. You know what I mean? For the on person on the flip side.
There shouldn't be a
So,
problem with
but anyway,
any of us.
so
We
let's-
should all have that understanding.
But let's just we're gonna let that one soak a little bit.
Next page.
Okay, let's let that one ferment. Okay. All right, so, yeah, punctuality. Employees will be informed of break times by management for a 6-hour shift, which I feel like nursing, but anyway. 6-hour shift, I know you get a 30-minute lunch, because that would be a big deal when we would schedule people for 6-hour shifts. But do they also get a 15-minute, or you only get 15 minutes?
If you work 8 hours, you get 15 of the
I
morning,
thought you got
15
two
of the evening.
15, I thought you got two 15 breaks and a 30-minute lunch.
Yeah.
Okay, well,
Or
it
it
doesn't
can be
say,
an hour for lunch, depending on
well, if it can be done.
whatever. that
So
works
do-
out
is
to
this something we,
Well,
I don't know,
have a
that's not
question-
clear to
I have
me.
a question about that, because I know the guys have changed, their work schedules sort of changed. They went from having an hour lunch to 30 minutes. and then their day is a little bit shorter. Is that an option for, like say for Trish example, she takes an hour for lunch, correct?
Which way you
Could she take 30 minutes for lunch and then leave at 4:30?
After a supervisor.
Yeah.
After the
Who's
supervisor.
her supervisor?
I don't know.
That's me. I was originally told that was not all right, but I've been asking this question. We were also told she had to have her lunch break right at 6 hours, and that's not always
Okay,
possible.
let me
Yeah,
explain it.
She could be on the
Let me go
phone.
this
Okay,
way.
go get it.
Yeah. Okay, a lot of times, and y'all don't care if I eat or not. And I understand that because I'm exempt.
Well, we do too.
But that's I'm just kidding.
Wanda, I gotta eat now. Throw me a bag of green chips.
That's the way
I don't care if you eat, but I'm going to. All right, let's go.
Really, and you're an exempt employee.
You're right.
whether
You
take
figure
a
out when
lunch
you're
or
gonna
not,
eat. That's right.
It doesn't matter.
There's many days we don't get a lunch.
You eat at your desk or
I'm not
something.
sitting there and eat a sandwich in 10 minutes, okay,
Yeah.
and I'm back to
Yeah.
work, okay. But take an hourly employee, and a lot of times Rhonda eats her just about every day, and she eats in about 10, 15 minutes. So she really doesn't take an hour for lunch. So could she just say, okay, she has a 30-minute, that day she's 30 minutes for lunch, could she leave at 4:30?
Who
She's
sets
an
her
hourly
hours?
employee.
Who sets her hours? You?
She
You
does
set her
by, she
hours.
doesn't know, she does by whether she's exempt or non-exempt, right?
She's
That's her
non-exempt, which is an hourly employee. She comes in at 8, she works till 5. That was with an hour for lunch. Well, maybe she doesn't require an hour for lunch. She's an hourly employee, so could she, if she wanted to, and maybe she didn't want to do that every day, but if she wanted to just take 30 minutes for lunch and leave at 4:30.
You're a
Or
supervisor.
some days she may eat lunch
Mhm.
and then
you
go
hear
to the
what he said?
library in
Yeah,
Irwin.
that should be
Yeah.
your call and that should
Yeah.
be
And it
between the
would
two of
probably
you and
be
that
too,
should
if you
be.
need the town to stay
done.
open till 5 and say you were gone that day, that she stayed open and make sure it
Yeah,
was
if
closed at
somebody's
5,
here.
you know, the hours.
Yeah,
I don't
I
see
think what
the-
Wanda said was important, just on what our expectations are in terms of citizens wanting to access the town. As much as possible, I think citizens ought to have access from 8 to 5.
Right.
No, that's,
Right,
and we'll see, I'm here. till
she's
5.
here.
Yeah.
But,
And say
and
something,
maybe
say
there
you
might
took a
be a
day
day
off,
that, she went to a funeral one day,
You could flip, yeah.
and we
Uh-huh.
closed at lunch because I left for lunch.
Mhm.
Which Tina and I would close for 2 hours, because I'd be gone, she'd be here, and then she would, go to lunch. And there were times that we were gone at the same time, but most of the time it doesn't happen with Rhonda and I. And so I just,
You usually don't go anywhere.
no, I usually don't. And I don't need that long to eat,
Did you hear what Roger just told you?
I know.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I just don't want to do anything that
Yeah.
causes
Well,
anybody.
it's good it gets ironed out, and then that way everybody's on board that know,
But I would like to tell her,
Yeah.
I mean, she
And
left
here's,
Friday, but she took all the Comcast phone equipment back. And she did a couple of Walmart things for the town,
Mhm.
supplies and things.
Mhm.
So she left at 3:00 to do that.
So were you given that authority? Because when I know that I'm Trisha's supervisor, but I was never really given that directive, that if I needed to change her.
By the supervisor.
But when I asked, what are our rules and how do you want me to handle this employee? Because I am representing you guys. I
See,
wasn't giving clear definitions. Were you?
no, that's why I'm asking the
Okay.
question about, is it okay if an employee wants to take 30 minutes? And I really didn't even think about it
Mhm.
until the maintenance guys started taking 30 minutes for lunch.
are they okay with that?
I haven't heard anybody complain about it.
I think they're fine with it.
Mhm.
See, well, sometimes if you waste, say you eat lunch in 20
Yeah.
minutes, you're gonna
Yeah.
sit around
Yeah.
40
Yeah.
minutes.
And when you could go home a little bit earlier,
That's right.
get a little more, and a lot of times you can plan things, especially when summer comes, you can work outside.
At the
and,
high
you
school,
know,
we can
yeah.
20 minutes.
We
And
don't.
just have to
eat.
sit around
There's
until
many
you
Well,
days.
the nurse
go to
will eat
work.
on it. We're
But
not
you know,
bringing them.
I think too, this is a little different than what they told you, but just say, let's just say in a 5-day week, she wants to take an hour's lunch one day and she wants to take 30 minutes the other 4, then you owe her 2 hours next week. She can come in 2 hours
Yeah,
late
you
one
know.
morning or go home early. 2 hours one evening.
Well, there are days that
At
she
your
does,
discretion.
yeah, she does
Is
take
that-
her lunch
is that
and
so
she goes
too?
to the library.
Do what?
Does
Right.
that
Or
suit
she
you?
goes to Walmart for
Yeah.
herself.
She can
Right.
accumulate
That
a
gives her-
couple hours.
So
She
that
don't
does
have to
take
do
an
it to
hour.
go
Yeah.
home early.
But if
That's
you
the same
don't
thing.
leave to go
Yeah.
anywhere, you're just, you bring your lunch,
Yeah.
you don't
You
really
eat 15
need
minutes
it.
and that's
But
over.
her extra 30 minutes can accumulate, like she said, if it's even 3 or 4 hours she had to take off. And maybe she didn't want to use the sick leave, but yet she knew she had to go to the doctor. She could use it for that and not use her sick leave. Maybe she needed it more. you know.
When I
No.
was, many years ago, when I was at TI, they was all the time cutting our overtime. Well, I planned parts for new materials. It didn't matter what was going on. When we got released to buy parts, I had to do stacks of paperwork. Well, I would take it home at night and I'd work on it till 12 o'clock at night. And next morning, I'd have it tied in strings and lay it on the superintendent's desk.
Do what?
Well, how'd you do that? Well, I stayed up half the night. But my immediate supervisor up in the corner of his desk pad, he would write down how many hours I told him I worked at home. And whenever I got all caught up a lot of evenings, he'd say, after lunch, won't you go on home? And he'd mark 4 hours off my time. You know, and
Mhm.
superintendent knew what was going on. I didn't get time and a half, but I got to go home early.
Mhm.
And I got all the work done and made it look good. So again, like he said, your immediate supervisor is, and you are her immediate supervisor. So, and we've talked about it, so
Yeah, go for it.
Y'all,
go for it.
it is 7,
Go for it.
it is 7:28, and I tried for these not to go any longer than 2 hours. Okay, because we have stuff we need to do.
Yeah.
These people have lives.
What
Speaking
page?
of exempt employees.
What page do we get to?
Well, what I wanted to do is, let's just hold off. Can we hold off on employees?
Let's finish 5. Let's finish 5, page 5. Let's go.
Okay, because I at least want to introduce the other things.
Let's finish
Okay.
5. Okay. Under performance appraisals, we need to take the word may out and put shall.
I did too.
You caught that too?
Mhm.
Very good. And that's all I got on that page, shall.
I thought you wanted to do something about the drug test,
Where's the rest of this?
the bottom of the page.
Oh, it is on there.
Designer drug.
Yeah, we need to have
No, that's an employee, that's an admission drug
it's
test.
on the next page.
Yeah.
where I put it.
Okay.
And it doesn't say background checks. That needs to have background checks added.
Yeah,
The other thing about personnel files, they said, open records only, medical, psychological, polygraph, or documents containing other forms of protected health information or private personal data may be safeguarded. Went to a lot of trouble to say medical, psychological, and polygraph. I don't even know how often those show up in people's employee files, but they didn't say the word social security number. So I think we just need to change the wording on that one. You know what I mean? Just clean that wording up. That was just excessive.
and under alcohol and drugs, we do need to put, we need to have random drug testing.
Okay.
Every new employee should be drug tested.
Okay, and that's on the other page. You know, the other thing right here, Sudafed will mess you up.
Mhm.
But we have PCP and LSD.
Yeah.
How likely is it that we're gonna have somebody coming through here
Marijuana, well,
on
marijuana,
LSD? You know what I mean?
heroin, yeah.
Give me a break.
But
Okay,
Cocaine,
Why don't you
diet
change that?
we gotta
You're a
clean that
nurse.
up,
Why don't you change
clean
that?
that up. Golly moly.
Then we can stop, let's stop.
All right, I'll clean that one up. We're leaving there. I mean, I'm not gonna clean it up right now. Let's go. Now, the next tab, I really want y'all to spend some time looking at, and that, well, the next 3 tabs, they're divided up. And I think, Ashley, you may have had some comments, but it's getting kind of late. I'm willing to sit and have some comments, but I don't know if y'all were able to read through to make any comments. This is just what I threw out. This is what I threw down on a piece of paper. This was just my stab, and this in my mind, needs to be a jumping off place. Okay, this is a jumping off place.
And I think you mentioned put it on March. I think we ought to put that off on the agenda till we do.
Oh, gosh, yeah, we're not
Yeah,
ready to put
no,
this on the agenda.
no.
We are not ready to
No.
put this on an agenda. Yes, ma'am, go.
I have people already wanting to, reserve. How do you want to go about that? Just use the old?
Tell me
policies?
what, yeah, who's wanting to do what? I
the
noticed soil
district-
conservation had a meeting up there. We didn't hear about that one, but that's all right.
Well, they've actually never had any
I'm gonna
type of,
bust Renee's behind because she's the chairman of that one. And she, okay, go ahead. I'm just
oh,
kidding.
what do you mean you didn't hear about it, like to be invited to it?
No, that they were using our space.
Oh,
I'm just
they've
kidding.
always met up there well before I came along. I'm
I'm-
not sure how that relationship worked.
I'm just playing.
Um,
I'm just playing. I don't really
District
mean
group is
anything
gonna
by
do their Easter thing at the cabin. I don't know how to go about that with them. They are having their meetings every Thursday, every.
And that I was okay with, them having their meeting.
It's happening again this week. so
Okay,
they're
I was
gonna
okay
come
with that,
Wednesday or Thursday to pick up the key. Um,
as long as they'll do that. Okay,
They don't keep a key.
I have the keys now. They're wanting to do their big Easter event, some sort of thing there. I don't know. Do we fill out a form? Do we not fill out a form? Do we
no,
charge
well,
them?
what
Do we
are,
not
I mean,
charge
are
them?
they gonna, are people gonna drive through and pick up bags or what? are
I
they
don't
gonna do?
know yet. She just said she's gotta get down there and look at their Easter supplies and all
Let
that
them
stuff.
do the Easter thing, just
Um,
whatever the old process was, let them do the Easter thing. I'm not gonna throw a ruckus in that.
I also have people calling about the Buffalo Pavilion, and I have people calling about the Buffalo Room.
What do people at the Buffalo Pavilion wanna do?
That lady is with Herbalacha. We've had some that just ask, as far as picnics, family picnics and stuff. And as of right now, we say if there's nobody there, just kind of use it,
Right.
But Herbalacha wants to do something, and they had thought about the pavilion, and they've also thought about the inside of the Buffalo Room.
How many people's that?
I really don't know.
What is, Ashley, do you know the capacity of the Buffalo Room?
I think didn't say-
I think if you've got them like standing, it's what, 75 to 100,
There's a sign
125.
on the.
For fire code?
Yeah, it's something like 100 and something if you're standing, like auditorium. If your classroom, it bumps it down to like 40.
Yeah, I
Okay.
think it's like.
Okay.
Yeah.
Use what we've got, use your judgment and use what we've got until we get this
Well, and one
passed.
thing about the history club, when they came in, they said that they wanted to maybe do a museum out of that and they would do it on their own, have it open certain days that people could come through and do that with them. And they also was going to get us some kind of sign. I don't think it's not one that was through the, I guess, in Washington DC, but through the
Oh,
state of
those
Tennessee,
historical
just
signs.
to show, because that's very important. And that one girl has got a lot of history on that. That's really important with, through John Sevier, that tells a lot. And a lot of people, have been interested in that. It has grown a lot of people.
Mhm.
And as we go into this spring, you're gonna have requests for weddings. We had one that was supposed to be slated on the books up at the Buffalo Pavilion for May. She is not sure right now if we're gonna do that one. But I'll tell you right now, the way it stands right now, if you do a wedding at any of our facilities and you don't charge for it, you are missing out.
Okay, well,
Um,
exception for something like that, because that takes a long time too. Some of these weddings, there's a lot of, that takes longer.
But-
In terms of hours, I'm just saying like the history committee meeting and them doing that Easter thing, I don't think that's gonna be a long time.
That
Well, we gotta get this passed, we gotta get this ready to talk about.
I have a question. On the Buffalo Conference Room, on number 7, it has 3 portable outdoor heaters.
We only have 2 and they don't work.
We have to.
Okay, so we only have 2?
Yeah.
Because it has, do we have 3?
No, we only have 2, and I'm not sure. I know that neither of them worked at the Christmas event. One of them has been severely bent. I don't know if that matters or not.
I'll work on that. Let me work on that.
Okay, and then I have a question, again, on 4, same Buffalo Conference Room, under the second section. Users will have access to computer equipment and projection equipment, including the pull-down screen. That's concerning.
And I brought that, I got that off of something that was already
The
written.
second section on the Buffalo Conference
Yeah.
Room.
Pull down screen.
Now, we
we
allow
just-
them to use, this was before the new equipment was in there.
Yeah.
When it was just, they plug into a TV, we didn't have a computer hooked up to the
I
TV.
didn't get two
That was
pages.
okay. We allowed them to hook into the TV over there, and we allowed them to use the pull down screen with their own projector. We didn't have, when that was,
Okay,
when what you were looking at was written, we didn't have the new equipment.
okay, then we need to reword number 4.
Yes.
Ashley, can you read, were you making another
I can do
reword
that.
number
Well,
4?
that's not right in my.
Oh,
no, no.
you all are losing me.
We were
It's
on,
behind, divider 5,
You're on 5 now.
and it's
We're on-
Buffalo Conference
What
Room.
happened to 4?
And I've only got
nothing,
one,
we just, these are all
I've
the,
only got one page.
the
in it.
conference room, the pavilion,
Number 5.
the
That's-
cabin,
that's what
and
y'all are
the,
supposed to
they're
do.
all in a different section.
And which,
They're all
which
regular.
item?
I thought
Number 4.
we were talking about the,
Restrooms are open all the
Yeah,
time?
that's,
No,
we've
that's
got to finish on that.
Okay.
With the
Let's
history,
finish the
we're
cabin.
making a history committee,
Down below.
since they've been
Second,
in
right
that
there.
even
They're on
before
the
the
same
cabin
page.
was as a
Oh, right here.
committee,
Okay.
that the town is recognized and they have done great work. Are they going to be exempt as far as anything, and they do it, they're exempt and, you know, with their meetings and all exempt?
If we charge any 501c3, as soon as they get their status, they will get charged like everybody else. But we have is the overall policy in here? Surely it is. Let me just refer Wanda to it. Wanda, I put, because I knew this was gonna be discussion,
you did.
in the resolution that we would consider, it has down here that any of this can be waived depending on a situation.
Yeah, I saw it.
Okay,
I didn't
so-
know with that, because
and
they've
I'm
been
not-
a part of the town and done so much with so many people.
Well, And I'm just wanting to get this out there in paper, and like I said, this is a jumping off place, so
And are they
reword, rewrite if you think it needs
And,
something
and well,
different.
and then another thing too, they may want to, it would probably be a good idea to have a discussion with them, you know, how you have it with everybody else on their end and see, let's see where everybody comes together with.
And are we gonna have to market for them?
Well.
They gonna market for
we have-
themselves?
Well, if we have, we market for a lot of other people that we give money to, you know what I'm saying? We give
But I'm
money
saying
even out.
like,
Well, we
do the
give- we've always
advertising
given-
for it.
Well, I don't know, they
I've
got
told
a
Ashley
budget.
to
We've
back
got- Well,
off.
we've got a budget that we give.
We
them
have an
every year.
appropriation for them.
Mhm. So the
that,
amount that we give, and that's one we have to really look over this year too, as to what we give money to who, because we give a lot away that is not even really here in you.
See, what I think is wrong with what we gave to them, we didn't give it to them.
no, we don't give it to them. We
She's having to keep
appropriate
up
it.
with
It's an
it.
appropriation.
They should have their,
Once they get to be a
Nonprofit status,
501c3,
yeah.
they do
And then
yeah.
they can do
Okay.
what they want to with it.
Let's go back to the cabin.
Okay, Kevin,
I've got stuff I got to
I
do.
have a comment.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay, the first item 1, to abide by all town of uniform laws and ordinances.
I pulled that off of something that was already
That's
printed.
no way in the world. I don't know all of it. You don't either.
Well, okay, I'm just
What
pulling
item
off
is
stuff
that?
that was printed.
Item
What,
1.
It's number 1 on all of them. It's
I
the
know,
same
I
thing.
know. There's
Okay.
no way to do.
Okay. Okay,
Number 3, tobacco use is limited to outside only. We have in our personnel policy, we are a tobacco-free,
Mhm.
I know that we have
Yeah.
little smoking pits
but
at our facilities.
I hate to go out there and see cigarette butts all over
I agree,
facilities.
because that's just a mess.
Let's leave that off, please.
Mhm.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
I'll work on the heaters on number 7.
What about the alcohol consumption? Because if you're gonna do weddings and stuff, people's gonna want them something to
They
drink.
don't- Yeah, but.
Punch.
Yeah,
But-
that's it, that's it,
So
yeah.
what are you
They're
doing
just, well,
about
if they
number
want to do
1?
that. they'll have
Number
to go
one, taking it
somewhere
Take
off.
else.
over the car.
Yeah, that's, yeah.
Do
On
that,
all of them.
All of them. Take number 1 off of all of them.
yeah.
And number
Okay,
3
there's
too, about the
2
alcohol, you
portable-
want it taken off too.
Number
Carl, too?
7, there's
And
only
number
2.
three.
No, number 2's fine.
No, number 3, I said.
Number
yeah.
3, yeah.
Take it
You
off.
want it, you want number 3 taken
We
off.
want a campus-free tobacco. Or tobacco-free campus, I'll say it right.
Yeah, just no tobacco, no tobacco.
Or somebody spitting us, chewing tobacco and spitting in
And
it.
don't even bring your spit to me.
And that number 8, the noise ordinance, we ain't got one yet, do we?
It's
Yeah.
gonna be on this
Agenda.
agenda.
Oh, is it? Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
so I've got the noise ordinance before these.
I'll shut up. Okay. I'm sorry. That's all I got.
Number 10, do we need to put a person number in there?
Actually, down at the bottom,
Yeah, when she gets it.
you said number what?
Number 10, is there a capacity in the cabin? I guess,
This one says,
no.
this one says.
Oh my gosh,
Under
that's,
Buffalo.
I don't
Kevin,
know.
you
that
got
sentence
Buffalo
doesn't
Convention.
belong.
No,
That sentence doesn't
no.
belong. I copied and pasted. I'm sorry, that sentence doesn't belong.
Which
Mark
one?
number 10 out.
Yeah, because you're asking. the
That's a conference
Yeah.
room statement. And we're on Buffalo, we're on the cabin.
Down where it says due to difficulty in cleaning rice, confetti, glitter, and similar items are strongly discouraged. Is there a way we can make that prohibited?
Yes, we
Yeah,
can.
I think that should be, because that would
Where were you
destroy
on
some
that?
of that.
Number
flooring.
7.
Number 7 on the second part down there.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're
Yeah,
gonna have a noise ordinance.
And
In
then how
terms of
about
number
blue
8.
painter's tape is acceptable for the decorations on walls and structures?
That's the only thing that's acceptable.
So number 7, what we doing there? No rice, no.
It's
Yeah.
prohibited.
Number
We're
7.
taking out strongly discouraged and replacing it with prohibited.
or-
Yeah, yeah. And how about decorations, pins and nails, or may be applied?
Okay.
That
Okay.
should, ought to be taken out.
No,
Whoa,
shouldn't, don't
whoa.
need that.
No,
It
Number
may
5.
not be
Push-
applied.
yeah, it should not be applied. It said may be applied, but it should not be applied.
It says no decorations
Yeah, but-
may be applied. No decorations requiring push pins, that needs to be requiring push pins, nails, or screws may be applied.
You said.
No decorations may
Now,
be
folks, I
applied.
know
I
you
just
want to
put no
hurry.
Decorations
but-
that can be applied.
Requiring those can
Can
be
I
applied
speak?
to the walls.
The cabin is not rentable. They've got a little ramp down there that's got roofing shingles on it to walk on. There's no handrail. And then the handrails on that big long side front porch, it has no rails going vertical. It meets no standards to have children and stuff down there. They can fall off the porch and up there like the cabin, here's the road. This right here's got a little ramp, no handrails. It's just a piece of board with roofing shingles on it. And all this rail around here, it's just a top rail. It has none of the vertical rails on it.
I think it's mostly put for the history because it's got the rich history with that.
To
is
rent-
what it's-
To rent a facility, does it have to be ADA compatible?
Well, yeah, it does.
Yeah.
Kathy,
Well, that's,
I took it on my own. I asked Debbie to help our inspector to inspect the cabin.
Okay,
and give
so
us
this is not gonna be ready
And give us
for this
recommendations.
month.
Right.
No.
No, we could be sued if somebody was hurt.
I didn't know that we couldn't rent it.
well,
So do you
is
wanna
it
take this
88?
one off the agenda, take off the cabin off the agenda?
I mean, if it has to be ADA compatible, I mean, we don't have that yet, so
Well, I mean,
nobody can rent
All
the
this stuff
space.
them men talked about today, it had to be
Okay.
ADA and it a walking trail,
Okay,
you know, right?
Yeah, and I think that's more of the history.
How many
of the-
parking
I guess
could
I'm-
there?
To begin with, you know, I mean, I think it's a lot of.
What are ADA requirements on the ramp part?
Handrails probably.
Well, the,
Certain incline, or your incline could be no more than certain degrees,
Can you
a whole bunch of
change?
stuff.
Can you change?
it's just made out of junk material. It needs to be
Yeah.
rebuilt. Just
Well, it was
Ode.
rebuilt.
what it, like he said, whatever the code
Well, now, I
is.
know that the vertical, you know, you said it's just the
Yeah.
bar, that wouldn't be ADA, would it? That would just be.
Well, that's a safety
Houses
feature.
in Charleston,
But now I will say this,
That are
we have
for
had,
public
since I've
use.
come on
they
board,
had to all be
numerous events out
revamped.
there.
So
well
that it
over my
had,
time.
yeah.
This
They
is
were
more
doing
like that
events out
Hayes tip,
there,
and I don't think
and
there's
we've
no
not had
parking,
any
let them go in, they can go on the
One
grounds, but they
issue-
can't go
You know
on the
that.
inside because of the preservation of that.
If you
Not-
get
But
your
that's
car
not
out
an
here
original
involved,
historic site, that cabin was rebuilt.
you
But,
you're
you know,
getting
that, well, that cabin was, the house was over it, and they gave it to them, they tore it down and found that one. But it said that John Sevier and all that, they got the history, that,
Okay.
that girl's got a lot of history with that goes with that, where John Sevier stayed.
All right,
you know.
what are we gonna do with
Can
that?
we put it on the agenda, but not rent it until it's
Ready?
ready?
Do that.
Okay,
That-
parking is limited to,
Now, let me ask you this. What if somebody wants to put a tent at one of these
it
locations?
says in here,
You
you can
can.
put a tent. I have it in here.
Yeah, okay, I do remember
Yeah, I
that.
don't remember, that's
Camping?
Buffalo.
Like camping?
No,
No, a
like a
tent.
party tent.
I said they could have a tent. It's in
Because I've
here.
actually been asked if they can camp down there in a tent.
No.
There's no telling what they'll try to do.
No.
I have
the
something
thing
about a
them.
county.
They might be sleeping in that little bed up
They
there.
may forget their alcohol and or took, what have they smoked and they don't tell you.
Well, if we don't have
That's
everything
sometimes.
exactly right, I guess we can
Yeah.
change it,
Change it.
tweak it at the,
Actually, I think I have something about the grounds. Oh, no, it's in the other section about that big field.
Okay,
I don't
Buffalo
know.
conference room, Kathy, I'm pushing you.
Yeah, I know it. Thank you. Okay, we're at two. Number 7 has 2 portable heaters.
I'll check on it.
And number 4, we were gonna, actually, you were gonna rework for
Well,
us.
Take off
7
number
needs to
1.
come out, Kathy. You don't use heaters in Buffalo conference room.
See, I cut and pasted, so I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I wasn't
Okay.
careful.
Well, and I'm, I had a kind of a,
Issue.
no, like a nice format, so I'm hoping I
I
can. take
used
what
a
you
lot of
did.
and I used a lot of the narrative in that. It may be.
Can I take what we're doing here and put into that format as far as type and stuff, or as long as it's the same information, or? does it
Same
have to be
information, I don't care what it looks like. Same information, I don't care what it looks like.
Kind of what I was hoping.
Okay, so we took 7 off. We took number 1 and number 7 off of Buffalo Conference Room, right?
And 3,
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
3.
tobacco.
Will we decide on the price at our meeting?
I've got it in here.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go to Doug Hobson Pavilion. Number 1 goes away, number 3 goes away. The portable heaters, we only have
I'll
2.
work on that. I'll work on that.
Checklist, deposit,
7, wasn't
full
it? Number
authority,
7. Yeah.
revoke. Parking is limited too.
Let's have to do that.
Mhm.
Okay.
I like that bottom sentence. Additional stipulations may apply.
By
depending-
nature of the, it's on both of them.
Yeah,
got it
I
off of
like
thing
that.
she had.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's look real quick. Buffalo Creek Park. Now this is just that big field. We'll take number 1 off. We'll take number 3 off.
Number 7.
Number 7, we have 2 heaters, so we'll have to fix that if somebody needs to
Okay,
rent one.
okay.
A checklist will be provided, deposit retained, announced. Okay, down under specific agreement, tent stakes are permissible as long as any holes in the field area are patched and do not create a trip hazard to future guests. That's gonna be part of that inspection that needs to happen. Parking is limited to, I still don't know, capacity, unlimited.
I
And
think
we do have soccer that will be starting, and we've already filled out a facility use agreement. We started mid-March
Okay,
with him. He is they're our only youth.
and he's like a community, he
Who's
does it
that?
like a community thing,
Yeah,
doesn't he?
yeah.
You know, he's not in a big league. He
No,
just-
no,
It's
no.
for
it's
kids to
just-
play.
It's just.
It's a
him.
good thing, it's a good thing,
I don't think the kids even pay anything to
Yeah.
play.
yeah.
And the town kind of, I mean,
Who is he?
even his concern was if we charged for the field.
Yeah.
And
No.
we had
What
talked
about-
about
Who is he? Who is it?
What,
Eric.
and they've done that a long time and they've been
Something with a
reliable.
big-
Well, what about the music too, where those people make their music on Monday? night?
Picking on the porch.
They should be exempt on that, just like they would be with the.
And we'll
talk
get
about-
there. We'll
yeah.
get there. We just have to put
Just be
something
fair.
in
Yeah, we gotta
place.
be fair. and
If
do
we're
it
having to
right.
pay people to go clean up again, I think we have to think about that sort of thing.
And I
but-
don't think we were paying after that. They cleaned up after that.
All right, y'all, there's 3 more pages associated with this. Well, there's a checklist, there's a resolution, and there's a facility use agreement. Being that we're going on 8 o'clock, what I'm gonna say is Debbie has all of these documents as Word documents. If you have something you feel really strongly about or something that you consented that you would work on and give information on, please email that to Debbie, okay, so that she can incorporate it. Okay, email it to Debbie so she can incorporate, and I will look over once again too, but these are gonna be on the March agenda because we need to get
One
it
more
done.
thing,
Yes,
your use agreement,
yeah,
non-resident fee, $25, you mean additional $25.
I do.
We need to correct
I
that.
think that's what I did mean by that. Non-resident meaning Unicoi, and I don't know, we're gonna check IDs, but if they come out of,
That's a plus $25 on top. of it.
yes.
Like Bubbling Cabin's 50, it'd be 75 for half day, what you meant, right?
And then they gotta pay a
deposit.
deposit.
Yeah,
Because
right,
if they
Kathy.
don't.
Non-town of Unicoi, yes, there's a refundable deposit on all those.
Yeah.
Debbie with us?
Somebody, we have to get. somebody-
Non-resident
somebody has to
fee.
get
I'll
it to make
email
sure
some of
we
these
get
back to
the money back
Debbie.
to somebody that could be responsible.
Non-town of
When my
Unicoi
great niece
residents.
graduated from those schools,
You got
they rented
25,
the,
that's an extra
or when
25.
utilities.
On all
that new
those, all
room,
4 of them have a
And
non-resident
time
fee.
we
An
left,
extra
there's about
$25.
6 of us stayed and helped
Okay.
clean. Nobody spilled nothing, of course,
Yeah.
but we'd have had to
So
mark
we've
it.
had a quick announcement.
But we
had
Yes.
do have a
ready for the
meeting
next
March
meeting.
18th at 3:30 with,
So that,
Red
because not
I
everybody's
do.
gonna
So
be
how do you
sure.
want me to?
I have
do
a-
it?
But I'm just saying, we
I
did.
do the paperwork. 'cause
Courtney, how many
you guys are
March
busy.
18th, so that won't be on our
I
meeting.
don't
We
think
brought our own
it's
trash
plus
bags and
25
everything.
Yeah.
And we had
We're
full
meeting
meal.
the
Yeah.
15th.
Well,
And
you
we're
don't
meeting
need time
with
to do
these
that.
on the
right?
18th afterwards.
You know,
at
But you
5.
have to have
Okay,
these.
Oh, are we good to go with
non-resident
it?
You have to.
They
Well,
won't
Nick-
You know, in
change
the restaurant
that,
house, they bring out parties for
about
Christmas and have them, they
turnover.
leave on the
Okay, then
tables
we
and the
can't
floor.
In the
sign
floor.
it.
That's right.
I mean, we can't pass it if they won't.
And that's on
Well, I mean, I
all of us.
guess.
The only thing they'll take out is the food services, and the facility coordinator and Red Cross manager or designee will jointly conduct a survey of the facility before it is turned over to the Red Cross. What that means, and the reason that wording has to be that way, is because when they open as a shelter and
They're
we
all-
turn that facility.
They're
over
totally
to them,
responsible.
Their insurance
full
takes
day.
over. We change that wording. they can't
Okay,
do
so
it.
that we're gonna go with it like
So-
that. You,
As
Lois
long as
cast
it's a-
approval.
If it's a
I mean,
resident.
she was the one
it's
that
still
hung that
a
She
up.
hundred.
was
Yeah.
the one that had.
Somehow we're
I
gonna
will double
figure out
check
how to
with
do
her.
that.
Okay, 3:30 on the 18th,
Yes.
where at?
Is that
at the
Red
visitor
Cross?
center.
At the visitor center? Okay.
How do we have a way, if we rent the Buffalo room, to shut it off from the rest of the building?
Yes.
It's got a good
No,
lock
my
on it.
question with all of this is who comes and lets them in and lets them out?
We're-
and takes care of them?
And
Is
all-
that maintenance? Is that us? Is that?
We'll probably have to rotate some duties. I'll help.
and all you got-
But we might have to go up on our price too, as we see.
If we have to pay people to come and do some stuff, yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, he's up there and
we'll
like-
have to adjust. But
This is
we
a big
need-
change for
We need to let
everybody.
people
I'll have to check
know,
and see what else
It's a
is
big
going
change
on.
for
spring is
everybody.
here, we want you to use our
In
facilities.
other words.
No, we
yeah.
want you to use your facilities.
Yeah, you-
Ridgeland will be using it when they start their meeting.
I am so glad that things
To
seem
see
to
if
be
they ever
lining
start
up.
theirs
Is that
back.
all?
I thought it was.
Ashley, is that all?
That went off.
So is the deposit more too?
No.
So how come it's still on?
Because we haven't, have we
This
adjourned?
is, the microphone is on.
Are we adjourned?
I'm sorry, yes, please, thank you.
Now.